So hello people, and today we have another coloristic topic. So I talked about it a little bit in previous videos about contrast and brightness in tattoo. So today we're gonna touch this topic a little bit, but not going to dive into. Today we're gonna dive into deep and advanced coloristic. I'm not going to give you any sacral or secret info. I'm gonna tell you secret. I don't have art education, so I was practicing by myself, watching objects laying and shadow drops, so I spoiled a lot of paper and practiced a lot, and look how other people do that. So I'm going to dive into my experience, give it to you, and I think it will be really useful for you. Probably somewhere I'm gonna make some mistakes with those names who have for those who have art education, but I can give you these things that not gonna be given to you at the university, because they don't actually speak about skin. So but skin, that is really important part in tattoo, as you know, so that is really better to foresee that in advance. So today I'm gonna introduce it for you, probably also for these who has this art education. So let's go with it. The first thing I'm gonna tell you that I was really afraid of using some kind of complicated colors, you know, dirty, muted pastel, muddy, you know, like natural tints that are all around us all the time. So you won't find any kind of clear color like blue, red or green without any kind of tints. They're really not a lot in our world. So I was always thinking that it's better to use clear colors. They will be more saturated and they will be held much better. And I thought the more saturated color you tattoo or you ink, the more it will be better while it's held. So it doesn't work so. But it works so, but not a panacea for a perfect tattoo. At that moment, I had a man who just literally always was using complicated colors, like muted, bleached colors. So, in my opinion, his works were actually, you know, muted, not actually beautiful in the sense of colorist. So if you draw some kind of, you know, landscape on your iPad, so it's really much better, and in the window you see that the landscape looks the same, but if you do muted colors and tints, bleached or like whitened, and combine all this thing in porridge, like mixed up and ruined, our eye won't actually see that good, like skepticism to the quality, because you will think that tattoo should be not that bleached. If it's bleached, it's kind of old, or so probably maybe inked bad or problems with dew. So the relation to this can be biased, but you can see and tattoo can ink to dance and really good, cool and careful, but looks not actually good, have a lack of contrast or saturation. So usually people who don't actually know anything about tattoo, they can react really wild on tattoo that is really contrast and saturated. So that is really not bad when tattoo looks more, you know, impressively, but actually it doesn't matter, then you cannot use muted and bleached tints in tattoo, they make it better. So I started to add some, you know, bluish gray to some, you know, base clean color, and probably green looks better when it's just like swampy, you know, avocado color, some kind of that. So then I understood that all my tints has changed. So the only color that was really the most saturated, that was red one, and it was gradated with warm red, with orange, like here. I really like that color, I adore it. So, but most of these tints I have that is really complicated colors. So you can use dirty, muted colors in your work. He will add clean accents in colors. So, and after this, your eye can catch this color and can actually understand that is that mood you want to transparent through your tattoo, and that is exact thing to do to have the eye of viewers caught. So probably here saturate color shouldn't be. So for example, this sleeve with carved baroque and skulls, where I have more than 70% with gray cold tone and I mixed it with the orange and red, so it doesn't look turbid or faded, so it looks okay. So on the other hand, I really, react on people who always try to use these dirty tints and try to add them everywhere, and their works look like strange, and if they really dance, they could look dirt. So the dirt work, it means that he made the really dirt basement for all this stuff, and after that you made some other color and maybe did it not actually dance, and you can look skin through it. So the only thing I can recommend you that is combine that right, complicated unsaturated colors with really impressively looking bright colors. So the most useful thing when you use really a lot of complicated pastel faded colors with bright colors, that is less of them, that looks really more presentable. So the other side from all of it, if you have really a lot of bright colors, it seems like a cartoon for us. So maybe you bumped into that client, don't work to do some simple cartoonish works, so they really look like cartoon from children, children drawings, so that is really doesn't make sense, so that is really true. It really works so less of really bright colors, but don't forget about them, and more of complicated, difficult colors that is more realistic and more lifestyle, like they are in our life. So the second thing in all this thing, that is contrast. The contrast is really important in all this thing when you actually use that with our first topic I talked to you about. So if you give really a lot of contrast to the tattoo, your work will never become porridge or mixed up. So the contrast actually makes a sense and do perspective, tattoo, make this form and outline it, so for tattoo to be readable and really visible from the other side. As you know, tattoo eats all the contrast because skin grow over the tattoo, and what was dark makes white, and what was brighter and that was bright become more darker, especially if it is really colorful with really realistic colors, like really complicated, if it's not black and white. That's why I always use outline, because outline can really make that perspective, make that contrast and show everything around that is going on your picture in your tattoo, so it really can do your your ink much better and live forever. But it's not necessary for all tattoos. Also, if you use some kind of drawings without outline, you have to add it. So you can live without outline, but sometimes I try to use black, but usually I don't use black in tattoo, because black after some time become any color but black. It's really easy to save black if you have a lot of bright around. Black looks really good when you have not a lot of colored skin around, or just gray wash or some tint colors. If you begin to ink some other like black, as you notice, so it's more bluish, so and something warm around it, so this black become more cold and looks like blue. So I really try to use black outline on really black objects to do that more dark, so I don't want to outline some red thing with black outline, because it can be dirty or spoiled or other tint that you didn't expect it. We have contrast of all tints, so that is really the main reason of these tints, that is pull your tint to another one when you really need. So that, for example, leaf that is really bright on the light, so let it be not black but really dark green. When you try to mix it, you can really understand that it's really dark green color, and it will look much better, because when it's held, it will become really predictable moment. So another really important moment when you draw something, some object, at least I do, so I don't have, you have to do that, some kind of, you know, paper page, like curved, like a ring, when lights drop from the top, so the lightened part from it should be really brightened with bright tints. They're really pastel. So when the color gets less of light, it become in more saturated color, not as muddy, not as faded. It cannot be faded in the shadow. It's not bleached black, it's really saturated black, so they don't look cartoon, they look really realistic and live really good on skin. As I told you before, muddy object colored with muddy color will be held bad, so we need to catch that balance, and something unsaturated from the top and really something saturated from the bottom. Some kind of middle color will be really look good after it's held.